Good morning. The isotopes used in nuclear medicine have half-lives that vary between 13 seconds and 8 days, and production has therefore a lot of complexity. For instance, the calculation of the position in a reactor for the isotopes that is used in 80% of all procedures takes place around 2 months prior to the actual production, and therefore way before the orders from the hospitals are placed. The production process leaves no time for the rectification of errors, because what is ordered today is produced now, delivered tomorrow, and very often used that same day. Still, the industry manages up to more than 99% of on-time in-full delivery of the radiopharmaceuticals. The required and implemented use of low-enriched uranium for target materials to adhere to non-proliferation requirements has led to lower molybdenum-99 yields, more radioactive waste, and therefore considerable cost increase. There is for most products no stock, no warehouse to draw from. Therefore, due to the half-life of the isotopes, a seamless transportation is vital to nuclear medicine. If there is one area where this is true, it is therefore just in time. But the same acronym stands for jam is trouble. Any delay in the transportation chain means a connection cannot be made and goods do not arrive. Too late arrival means product cannot be used anymore and patients not treated. We rely on road and air transport, and airlines each have their individual regulations on amounts of radioactive material they are prepared to take on board. And an airline captain has the last say. He can use his privilege to refuse radioactive material on board. It is dangerous goods, and he can decide this for himself. Brexit, and particularly COVID, have been a huge challenge as regular flights and routes were no longer available, and alternatives had to be found, often in a matter of hours before departure. Lastly, there are only a very few and limited number of qualified road transport companies that can and are allowed to deliver radiopharmaceuticals. A large portion of radiopharmaceuticals is produced in research reactors that in many cases have been in operation for more than 50 years, and they will need to be replaced and/or require substantial investment for continued reliable operation. Several initiatives are underway to replace these sites, but the financial impact is very, very large, and governments are no longer investing in them. To secure the European production of radiopharmaceuticals for the future, private investors are needed, and these can only be found if a reasonable return on their investment is to be expected. This is a challenge, and a possibility could be that the EU makes low-interest funding available to support the industry. About 10 years ago, the OECD presented a report where they asked the reactor operators to install the so-called full cost recovery, meaning that the cost of target irradiation for radiopharmaceuticals should be passed through instead of being cross-subsidized. In fact, until then, the government funding of reactors subsidized nuclear medicine in other countries. But in the receiving countries, nuclear medicine, as a relatively small medical entity, was not granted an even moderate increase in reimbursement to pay for this additional local cost. In some countries, the reimbursement for the scan is still at the same euro level as it was more than 20 years ago. And this is the reason why several companies have left the field, and particularly in the technetium areas, the remaining ones are struggling due to this squeeze. Thank you very much for your attention.